Alright folks, welcome back. Today we're wrapping up our little boot here with the guitar and actually putting it into a keychain format. Alright, so the goal here today is to get to this point, which obviously I have done. With the software, we're gonna prep it for print, finish up a couple little bits, prep it for printing, print it, and turn it into a keychain. Alright, without further ado, let's get creative, have a little bit of fun along the way. Let's cue the intro. Record. Derp, we're at 2 hours. Alright. Hey folks. 1, 2, 3. Alright. We're back digging into ZBrush Core again. What we're doing here is actually prepping things for print. I am making areas that are hollow, solid, making things that holes where I want one color to be to help build with strength a little bit on this piece. Now, we're wrapping things up today. We are finishing the modeling. We're prepping for export, and we will be printing today. With that said, there's still a lot of work to be done here. I'm digging in, building up volume into these pieces, so when I go to the printer, it has some meat to work with, if you know what I mean. So there's plenty of plastic to be filled within those areas, allowing for thicker walls, so the two color plastics can mesh together a lot better. And this is a little bit of a struggle at first, trying to figure out the best route in approaching this. What I ended up doing, as you can see here, is trying to masking, tried layering, try expanding the current layer using a variety of tools. And excuse this first part. When I did this, it was the camera, the screen capturing software wasn't capturing the whole screen. I did get that fixed in a little bit. You will see it change after this first attempt here. I was kind of actually debating on removing it, but I figured for you guys, you probably want to see my mistakes so you can learn from my mistakes, and I'm cool with that. Matter of fact, I hope you learn from my mistakes. I think that'd be fantastic. Save you from having to go through the same mistakes that I made trying to figure out this process, trying to learn. I went through a bunch of, when I originally did this, I went through a bunch of tutorials trying to learn out the software, obviously, which I did, but tutorials don't tell you everything. There are things that you're going to have to figure out on your own. And for me, this is one of them, where trying to figure out how to manipulate the geometry when it's really thin like this to get what I'm looking for. Well, I ended up realizing that these just didn't work, and there was going to have to be a different approach to things. And yeah, I still have the same squeaky chair. Sorry for that. It's going to be that. Oh, if you hear some weird noises in the background, it's just the printer printing. I am printing actually this. I needed a total of 9 of these keychains. Right now I have about 3 completed. I have 2 failures, and I'm printing another 4 right now. And the only reason why I didn't go more is that time-wise, printing 4 of these is going to take me 6 hours to print. So 6 hours to print means a whole lot of time, and I'm kind of keeping an eye on it. So excuse that noise in the background. It is the printer going, and I am printing what we're talking about. And they look pretty freaking cool, ultimately, as keychains. What I ended up doing was a 35 millimeter height, about 1.5 inches high, roughly. Then I purchased off these little key rings off of Amazon for them to connect to with a little chain. And then that came out pretty nicely. They're going to glow in the dark, which is neat. And I used a nice blue that works really well with it. Alright, back to what we're talking about. Alright, so I screwed up here. As you can see, I fixed the screen issue. And I screwed up here. I'm trying to fix my little mistakes, cleaning up the edges and stuff of the guitar that I messed up somehow. I did something when I saved it that everything saved in a really low resolution as far as the polys go, which kind of destroyed a lot of the details. No big deal. I figured I'd try to fix it. Did a little bit of fixing. Good enough for this project anyways. That part there I didn't worry about because I already had its location and I already decided to change the color to a different color. So that's going to the other part of the boot where that part will actually glow. And those pieces were in the end too small to print properly, so I removed them, to make a smoother print. Now, as I continue to clean this up a bit, you'll see that as soon as I'm done dealing with all that, getting some sharper edges and that stuff, bouncing between a few different tools, or brushes, I guess is what they call them. I'm working on the tool itself. I know, it's a little weird. Instead of calling it geometry or model or clay, they call it a tool. But in reality, what it is, it's digital clay. So I'm here trying to clean up a lot of this stuff as much as I can prior to going to the next step. So that's what you see me trying to get in here, remove some of the weirdness, and actually smooth things out a little bit. So when it comes to the next step, there's a little less processing involved, and it's a little bit less problematic, and minimize any empty gaps that may show up on the print that could cause problems. These are things, oddly enough, you actually got to think about when you're creating for printing. Even though this is it's not going to be seen, this part would not be visible whatsoever. It is important, though, that there are no gaps or hollow spots, because if you can't predict how it's going to print because you have some bad geometry, you are setting yourself up for failure. That's something kind of learned, but also that may not be true in every case, obviously. As you know, in my last project, I had this big empty ball inside the rose. I didn't want to repeat that problem. I didn't want to take the risk in this one because I knew I was printing multiple copies of this. So my goal here was to clean it up a little bit, get it ready for print, and hope for the best. But I can tell you this right now, it printed beautifully. This is like one of the nicest things that this printer actually achieved in the end. So that's what I'm doing. I'm doing a lot of smoothing. I'm doing a lot of building up and remeshing the mesh, basically. I forget what they call it. But using the mesh mixer tool or component to continuously adjust and fix and realign the quads in the process. So I try to get this. I spent a huge amount of time trying to fix this. At one point I just said screw it. I'm pretty sure, guarantee you that I'll be getting to that soon. And yeah. But after I get this all sorted, I start working with my geometry components to break things apart the way I want them laid out for the printing process. Before I get too far ahead. So, with that said, on the next couple projects I'm thinking is I got a BL Tech auto leveling thing. It's a servo auto level for the printer. The next project will be to build a mount for that for the printer, which will be going into probably be sticking directly in with the. Here's what I did. I actually removed the hole completely. This is how I fixed it. I just lost my patience and did this, other than having the wrong object. So I filled the hole in, pulled with a cube, sorry. And then I took a sphere. Sorry, I'm a bit tired. Cylinder, placed it in the proper location, making sure I hit where I wanted to. Trying to memorize how I was supposed to do this thing, and then rebuilt the hole that is in the center of the guitar. I also removed the square that was in the center. So I cleaned it up, basically doing a different approach. The first approach really wasn't working all that well, and it was taking far too long to complete. So yeah, that's what's going on here that you're looking at now. All right, anyways, with that said, as I'm fixing that, my next project will be trying to get that all-bed level to work, where I'll be working in Fusion 360 to get the proper dimensions. Since it's not really a very creative project, but it is such a necessary project, I want to be able to use the whole bed, the whole 120 millimeter diameter that I have available to me, without having to worry about an inconsistency in the bed. And for this particular printer, a servo auto level is probably the ideal tool for that, because I've got a heat bed that's with a metal plate on top for the Delta printer. So I picked one of those up. I need to build a mount. I think the next project will be to create that mount and get that configured. Let me know if you want to see the whole process of me assembling that and trying to figure out the proper firmware information that I need to update the printer with to get that to work right. Then after that, we'll have a couple options. Either start working at cleaning up the wiring on the printer, or start working towards the OpenRC project, or maybe something else entirely. Let me know in the comments. That'd be fantastic. I think one of those routes will be fun to go. And eventually we will be doing the RC project. I think that'll be fun. But rather than going with this Formula One that everybody's doing, I want to do something different. I want to start from scratch and go from there. I mean, that's kind of the premise of this channel, is to work out stuff from scratch anyways. Start to finish. That's my goal. All right. Anyways, with that, let's get back to where we are on the project here. As we've been making progress here, you can see that I'm getting the two boots lined up. I mirrored them. I'm currently lining them up in the stern to merge things together in a way that I can guarantee I won't lose anything if I screw up, and planning out the final results. So I've got one boot started. I'm getting things built up on that one boot before I merge together, before I mirror everything. Then once I have everything lined up, mirrored, I'm ready to be mirrored, then I'll mirror it, which is coming pretty up soon. And yeah, I think this is going to be I think you'll like this. This is pretty cool. Unfortunately, their mirroring process isn't the same as what I'm used to. There may be a way of doing things a little bit different. I didn't really have the time or the interest in trying to figure out how to get one object to flip at a certain point. So I just duplicated and flipped, rather than not worried about it, because I could always move it the model after to line it up where I want and then joined together after. So that's what's going on here. Is I'm starting to prep for the boot to be flipped. And one thing I noticed with one of the test prints that I did, that the bottom of the boot wasn't flat. So what I did there was to fix that problem with the cutting of the bottom of the boot, which, by the way, worked quite nicely. I don't have this little gap from the heel to the bed anymore. So with that, we're going to wrap things up here and keep moving on. So, yeah. Checking geometry, losing my parts where I forgot where they put them or what they were. In the tool menu, saving my progress a little bit, making sure I don't lose anything. So that's something important. You kind of want to save often, even though I have the autosave on and I'm auto-saving, I think like every 5 minutes. It's good to save a couple different versions as you can make progression, especially at major turning points. That'll help protect you from any loss. So keep that in mind when you're working here. If you get to a point where you feel that if you lose this, you're basically starting over and you've already spent a huge amount of time, well, this is highly recommended to save at that point. Where, like same here, where I'm in the process of moving to major transitions where I'm blending two pieces together that I won't be able to go back to. I'm doing a quick save and marking the version. It's just to help to protect me from starting all over again. Okay, with that, as you can see, I'm lining everything up, building it all up. Getting things ready, combining pieces together, adding new pieces that are going to serve a certain purpose, which work well for me in this case. And yeah. Yep. So yeah, this process is almost done. This final leg of this story, I think, took me like another 3 hours to complete. So overall, not terrible. About 10, 11 hours worth of work to get to this point. It seems like a lot, but in reality, that's not that much. So yeah. As we near the completion, I will be preparing to export this out using obviously using the software that's here. I'll be exporting out in its STL file. I can put that into Simplify 3D. Excuse me. And that'll be happening shortly. Yeah. So as you can see, I got a pretty good idea of what the end results will be. Even though they may not be the exact coloring, it still looks pretty good, and the colorings actually indicate what color is going to be on which print head. So, yep. I may need to oil those arms again at some point. Yep. All right. Nearly getting ready to get the exporting on. Yeah. So saving a final version. Getting ready prepping the export file. Prepping the model for export. As you can see, if you look at it, they're all now triangles instead of quads. And the same thing for the boot, top of the boot. And that's preparing for the STL file to work properly. STL files do not do quads, they do triangles. Alright, now that we're in Simplified 3D, I brought the boot in. As you can see, they're massive. So making a few adjustments inside Simplified 3D, getting them the size that I need them to be. Yep. So I'm handling the print settings, getting those ready for the test print, making sure everything is correct, and we're going to be moving on from there. So, yeah. You know, dealing with temperature and all that lovely stuff. It's actually quite a bit that needs to be done, no matter what, prior to. Especially with the profile I'm using. I'm doing a few tests, seeing how I feel the ooze shield should work. I felt ultimately, or if I should do any kind of support material. Ultimately, I decided to go with the vertical and no support material. A little bit of a prime before printing, as well as the ooze shield itself. And then with that, I made sure auto bed leveling was turned off because I don't have the auto bed configured or working. Or also, it's actually currently missing a piece to the original one, which was terrible anyways, and I never used it. Didn't work right. Never bothered to really configure it. Then again, but whatever. Wasn't happy with it either way. Sending this stuff over to the printer now and getting it ready for print, or getting it to the printer for the printer to start printing. So it's heating up the bed and the print head, and we'll see the end result soon enough. Excuse me. For printing one, this was about 2.5 to 3 hours to print. So printing 4 at a time actually saves a lot of time. Now, if you look at this, it looks like I'm doing something really weird, but the way my print heads are laid out, the nozzles are -13 and 13 from center of the print bed. And that's just a representation of that scenario, which is important because if you don't if you're not making sure they're lined up properly, they're not going to print right. They're going to print in two completely different areas. It took me a little while to figure out how to do this in Simplified 3D. I've done it with the Slicer 3D or Slicer, which worked alright. I don't like Slicer. I don't like how it works. This is a little bit more comfortable of an environment, and that's a lot more fun to use. I do have some gripes about this program, though. Even though it's $150, and I think that there alone, it's worth this software is worth $150 because it handles a wide variety of printers. Along with that, it's very highly configurable, and it's very print friendly, or it's very user friendly. But one of the gripes I have is you can't specify in the design view or the layout view. I guess it would be considered the layout view. The layout view that visually you can't see what color is where, which print tool or print head that you're using is where. What I would love to see Simplify 3D do is add a custom color tool to the tool, each tool. So, like I can select a tool, say tool 0, which in this case would be on that end front. Well, my printer front. It calls it right, but whatever. That's not important. As long as I know that it's the front one. Like say red, and then the back print head, which would be the right or tool 1, and have that like I don't know, pink or something. Who knows? So ultimately, I can have two different colors, and I can visually see it in the layout view where we're prepping for the print. All right, now I'm at the point where I'm actually I'm sending it to the printer, and the printing will be the printer will be printing it. Obviously, everything I'm doing here is literally sped up to minimize the time that you guys are watching this. This video is already over my budgeted time that I'm really willing to allow. And yeah, so we're starting to print off. We're getting things going. In a minute, you'll see that I'll be showing you the actual printing process for the one. So that's what you're looking at now, is the preview for Simplify 3D as far as the printing process goes. And yep. So yeah, and up in the upper corner there, what you're looking at is the actual printing of the printer going, which is kind of cool to see. It's actually memorizing to watch this printer. I just sit there and I stare at the thing. Like it's just fascinating to watch. It's so, these Delta printers to me are very elegant in the way they print. They're just lovely to watch. From the videos I've seen of other printers printing, where you have the bed moving back and forward and the print head moving left and right, it's not as fascinating. But then again, I used to work in an industry where we printed on huge vinyl prints with a cutter. I found those boring to watch too. You know, you have to observe those. I think that could have been why I didn't find those printers very fascinating. With the Delta printer, you have the arm swinging back and forth. You have these print arms. Literally, you have the print head moving like a pendulum, but instead of like a pendulum, the difference is it looks like it's going in random directions instead of some swooping circle. So this is kind of fun to watch, and it's fascinating. So yeah, that's where my opinion on Delta printers are. They're fun to watch. They're just beautiful printers. Even though the one I have currently is a little bit on the ugly side due to the fact I got wires hanging all over. It's like somebody puked out wires at it. Or it puked out wires and all its guts are falling out. Something I gotta clean up at some point is fixing all the wiring, but I need to get a few things done before I do that. One of them is get the auto bed level done so we can move on to other projects, along with I want to add a fan to cool down the parts that are printing too. So those are the two projects that I have planned, or I want to do in the future. One sooner rather than later. The other one I'd like to do pretty soon too. The other problem I have with the Delta printers are they're never enclosed. They're always open air printers, which is fine. They're very tall too, but that's okay. I don't mind how tall they are. They look nice. They really do look really nice. Some of the things I want to do to the one I have will hopefully make it look better and make the wires a little bit cleaner than when I have them. And I even have an idea for enclosing the printer. But that, I don't know if I'm going to do or not. Anyways, let me know what you think as far as projects you may want to see me do. Do you want to see me encase the printer? I got a few things I want to do with the printer, like build a little base so the bottom isn't totally open like it is currently. You know, where it has open vents that kind of hide the electronics a little bit more than nothing there, where you can see everything. Just to try to clean things up, especially considering it's a Delta printer and they're actually very lovely looking. The other problem I have with my current one is I broke this spool holder that's on the top. I want to redesign that to be where I can just put a spool on, feed it to the extruder, rather than moving pieces around and stuff like that. I think that'd be a better solution than what I have. A lot of that is all technical stuff, so if you want to see a lot of technical stuff, let me know as far as that goes. If you wanted me to start approaching the OpenRC project, let me know about that, because I think that would be a lot of fun for everybody. Because once I have that built and have all the electronics into it, we can really have some fun. Take the thing out and drive around parking lots and wherever, test it out where we feel necessary. If I do that, though, I want to configure it where I can mount a camera to it. And even though I don't have a GoPro or something of that nature, I may look into picking something up that would work well for it. But I want to do that unless you guys want me to. Alright, anyways, as this is slowly wrapping things up and printing, I am going to bid you guys farewell. I'm going to ask that you guys subscribe for more. Please leave me a comment as to what you think my next project should be. I think my next real project right now I do plan on is the auto bed leveling for the printer. So that if you want that more tutorial style than this, let me know. Otherwise, I may go this route, or I may go more tutorial wise. Let me hear your thoughts on that. Please, yeah. Anyways, okay. With that, I'm gonna enjoy your evening, guys. Have fun. I'm gonna let this finish printing up, and please subscribe. Hit the little bell icon. Let me know if you like this video, if you like this style. If you don't, let me know. I'm still trying to figure out the best format for my videos, so I really could use some feedback on that. So please leave a comment down below on what your thoughts are. And with that said, good night. Enjoy your evening. Do something fun. Do something creative. Don't be afraid. Catch y'all later.